So maybe we'll get started now. It's 7:03. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Dahabo Ahmed Omer. I'm the Executive Director of the BlackNorth Initiative, and welcome to this community session on the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program. We are very, very excited to have you this evening with us, and thank you for making time. For those of you that are fasting, Ramadan Mubarak to all of you, and please feel free to take a break when you do have to break your fast and join us back. We are running the session till about 8:30 this evening. And so I would just like to first thank all of our partners at Habitat for Humanity, GTA, as well as Dream Legacy Foundation. You'll get to meet the wonderful members of that team in just a moment. We came together over a year ago and put together this idea. It was a dream, I think, a while ago, but now it's coming to fruition, and it's been wonderful to actually see it come to life. And, those of us that have been part of this, at the beginning said to ourselves, we wanted to provide a housing solution to communities who've been impacted for such a long time. And we didn't know what that was going to look like at the onset. We just knew that this was a critical area to address for all of our communities within the Black community. And so those that you see on the screen and those who are not here tonight worked tirelessly over the last year and a little over a year now to put this incredible program together that we hope will be able to provide a housing solution to all of you. And so I will start by introducing some of the members of the team, and maybe I'll ask the Dream Legacy team. We have Lucia here tonight. Lucia, if you could introduce yourself first, please.
Yes, hi everybody. Good to be here with you this evening. I'm Lucia Magicotomy. I'm one of two program managers with the Dream Legacy Foundation. Looking forward to supporting you with your application process and working with you throughout your journeys. As I mentioned, I'm one of two. My colleague Collins, unfortunately, sends his regrets. He wasn't able to make it today. So we're just looking forward to further engaging. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. And from Habitat for Humanity GTA, we have Chris Robinson here tonight. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, Dahabo. Welcome, everyone. My name is Chris Robinson. I'm a manager of strategy and policy at Habitat GTA. Habitat GTA has been, delivering housing, affordable home ownership in the GTA for over 30 years, and we're just, incredibly excited and honored to be part of this partnership with BlackNorth and Dream Legacy to try and live in our ability to become allies and recognize the impacts of anti-Black systemic racism and address that in a meaningful way through home ownership. So welcome everybody, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. And then we have members of the BlackNorth Initiative team. Sigal, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sigal Abdi. I'm the program manager here at BlackNorth Initiative, and welcome. We're very happy to be able to deliver this last session. But do not worry, there is our previous sessions all posted on our website shortly or sometime this week. So you'll have access to additional information and resources as well. But welcome, and I'm happy to be able to deliver this for you.
Amazing. Thank you, Sigal. And then there are other members who are also here, Khalid and Shelton, who are part of the communications and marketing team. They are working all the magic to put this event together for us and maneuvering things. And so thank you guys for participating. I think I'll start by saying that, we know homeownership is a very, very daunting idea. It's a daunting task. It is a scary process to go through. It is probably one of the most biggest purchases that you'll ever make. We have been thinking about how do we facilitate this for all of you? How do we make sure that we can get you the information in a timely manner, but also be able to, ensure that you have the mechanics of what the program looks like, how it serves you, how it could create generational impact for you and your families. What does the application process look like? What do the criteria look like? And so we understand firsthand how stressful and the anxieties that come from this process. I will share that I am going through a process myself to buying a home, and it's every day I'm nervous about something, and I'm always asking more questions. I'm trying to figure things out, and so it's probably what you're all feeling as well, and more so than me. And so know that we're here to support you. There is please ask as many questions as you'd like tonight. It's important that we get you the information so that you are fully informed and equipped to make a decision for you and your families. We understand that this is a very critical time in all of your lives, and that you are interested in this program because it could change your lives as well. And so we want to make sure that we give you that information to make an informed decision as much as possible. So please use the Q&A function. I know a lot of people tend to use a chat function, but you know, the moderator tonight will be looking at the Q&A to bring up the questions. We will first start off with a presentation of the actual program, which will last about 20 minutes, and Sigal, our program manager at BlackNorth, will present that. Once we are finished with the presentation, so maybe, excuse me, maybe hold on to your questions till the end of the presentations. Sometimes what happens is that the answer to your question is probably in the next slide. And so as we go through the presentation, just hold on to your questions, and at the end of it, please use the Q&A function to ask any questions that you would like. We will alternate, right? We'll answer some questions live, and it will be given to one of the members of the three partners to answer that question. And there are going to be some questions that the members of the team will also answer in writing to you in the Q&A. And so please feel free to use that Q&A. And again, know that there is a lot of information already out there, but we are pleased to help you in any way that we can. So sending us an email at programs@blacknorth.ca is always an option. Visiting our website at blacknorth.ca is a great option. A lot of information is on that website. You can also go to the websites at Habitat and Dream Legacy. There's a ton of information there as well. We have recorded all the sessions that we've had thus far, so it allows you to not only hear some of the comments from the other community members who've attended. We've had hundreds of people attend thus far. You also may have questions that have already, you know, that you may not have thought of that have been posed before, and you'll get some more information from there. So we really urge you to look at the previous sessions as well. And so again, I'm very, very proud of this program, proud of this team, happy that we can organize these community sessions to touch base with all of you and be able to provide you some information. I will now turn it over to Sigal Abdi, who will share her presentation and go through that. Thank you, Sigal.
Muted, so I had to remove myself from mute. So, and then I'll just start the presentation. Perfect. Please interrupt me if for some reason my slide is not turning or it's not moving to the next one. Please make sure to just unmute yourself and interrupt me. Thank you. So I'll go right into it. Of course, we're here to present the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program. I'll first start with the mission for BlackNorth. The BlackNorth Initiative is on a mission to end anti-Black systemic racism throughout all aspects of our lives, so Black lives, by utilizing a business-first mindset. It is with this intention that, of course, we had a number of different community action or committee action group, and then housing committee was one of them. And from the interaction of a fearless group of leaders from the housing committee came the Homeownership Bridge program. So I'll go first a little bit over the program overview and its eligibility. So the BlackNorth Initiative Homeownership Bridge Program is an affordable homeownership option, and it enables Black families to thrive. Essentially, we understand that homeownership has enabled generations of Canadians to build equity, to start their business, support their children's post-secondary education, provide for retirement, and transfer wealth to their children. However, the Black community has been left behind. And in the GTA, homeownership is highly racialized. We understand that a higher number of individuals who are higher income, where housing is mainly ownership, is about 73% resident. 73% of the residents are white. And for areas where 69% of residents are racialized, it is lower income and housing is mainly rental. So the Homeownership Bridge program is a partnership with Habitat for Humanity GTA and Dream Legacy Foundation. The program itself will empower Black families to build security, stability, equity, and the opportunity to make life better for generations to come. Dream Legacy Foundation is responsible for recruitment, program outreach, and managing the application process while engaging with the family. And they do so throughout the process of the lifelong journey of your not only application, but essentially even afterwards, whenever you're going to be moving on to your homes and be able to provide the assist with the workshops that we will talk about further down. Habitat for Humanity GTA is responsible for acquiring the homes, and they will do so by not only providing their own habitat built, but also by engaging with developers. They will also provide support with recruitment, administering and managing mortgages, as well as the homeownership education workshops. And that's the one that Dream Legacy as well will be able to support. Now, moving on to who is eligible. The minimum eligibility requirements is that at least one household member self-identify as Black, that the parents and legal guardian, that you are the parent and legal guardian of at least one child that's under the age of 16, that all household member be Canadian citizen or permanent resident, to also be a first-time home buyer currently renting, to be employed full-time or full-time equivalent, and full-time equivalent refers to you having 2 part-time jobs that amount to approximately full-time hours. And while we may look at some supplemental form of income, families that do not have employment income cannot be considered for the program. And you also have to have worked in Canada for more than 3 years. You have to have a gross household income between $65,000 to $90,000. And there has to be no ongoing bankruptcy, consumer proposal, or credit counseling program. And if there was a bankruptcy, it must have been discharged at least 3 years prior, and there has to be no current consumer proposal. Now, how does the BNI Homeownership Bridge program help family? Well, there are a number of ways in which we do so. We do so by creating future generational wealth, by helping you build equity through your home. We then reinvest those proceeds to help future homeowners. The shelter costs are initially set at or below 32% of your gross household income. And shelter cost essentially refers to it constitute mortgage payment, so that would be principal plus interest. Also includes condo fees, homeownership, home insurance, and property taxes. And therefore it leaves all your other expenses to be at 68% of your gross household income. We do expect you to also engage in community volunteer hours, and that would be through equity that would represent 500 hours of your equity contribution, and that essentially will be ideally conducted prior to occupancy. You'll also participate in homeownership education workshops. We understand that you are a first-time homeowner, and this will be provided before and after you take possession of your home. And the required first mortgage amount is significantly less than the fair market value of your home. And the second mortgage, which is the silent bridge mortgage, is not due until the first mortgage is completed. So how does the Homeownership Bridge program create opportunity? Well, if we take a look at this example, this is a family of 2-parent household with 1 child. Their total income is $65,000. If they were to continue renting, then the household would just essentially live in suboptimal rental units. They would have moved several times. They would have spent significant amount of income on rent, and they would have gained 0 equity. However, the alternative for the BlackNorth Homeownership Bridge program is the family would, as a result of residing or partnering with us for 25 years, have a secure and comfortable home. They would build equity, which then can be used to support their child's education, down payment for a home if you were to go into the real estate market, and of course, for you to be able to contribute towards your own retirement. And then the Homeownership Bridge program takes reinvest the share of equity that we gain from the home in order to support another qualified low-income family, and therefore we repeat the cycle of change and generational mobility. It is essentially you assisting us to be able to support additional families, additional Black families. And of course, we will talk a little bit later on how you go in terms of building the equity. I will move on to the two mortgage model and share equity concept. So to start with, the two mortgage model consists of, so the total purchase of the cost of the home, which is at fair market value, is a combination of your first mortgage, which is going to be obtained by a conventional lender. And that conventional lender usually is a credit union. It can range between $200,000 to $250,000, and it's amortized at 25 years. So 25 years amortization. And of course, that first mortgage is with market interest rate. The second mortgage, which is the silent mortgage that will be held by BNI, there is zero interest associated with that one. It does not require, the program itself does not require you to put down a down payment because your community equity contributions, so essentially community volunteer hours, will be able to support and account for it. Now, if we see, the second mortgage will be the difference between the first mortgage and the fair market value of the home. And if we elaborate on how the share equity concept works, so what is the BNI Homeownership Bridge Program share equity? Well, BNI will take and use the investment of the funds from all level of government. So that's the 10 million contributed by CMHC and other funding from governments, such as the grants and additional funding from Habitat, along with the philanthropic donations, in order to make a home affordable to a family with a modest income. In exchange for being able to access an affordable home ownership opportunity, the homeowner agrees to share the appreciation so that another homeowner can be supported in the future. Over time, the first homeowner builds wealth by making their mortgage payments. When the first homeowner sells, when that homeowner sells their home, they retain their equity, and BNI continues to use the community and government funds to make affordable home ownership opportunity for the next family. So if we see, the program strikes a balance between building equity for our partner family and creating a long-term sustainability that allows us to be able to help new families for years to come. So it's essentially you reinvesting within your community. And what is the homeownership equity sharing formula? So if you see right here, a bit of a comparison table, the market purchase of if you were to purchase the home at a fair market value, you would be able to retain 100% of the equity from your principal payment, along with 100% of the equity from appreciation. Now, if we take a look at the right-hand side, if you were renting it, you would get zero principal payments or equity from principal payment, or even zero appreciation. Now, BNI homeownership appreciation concept is somewhere in the middle. So if we take a look at it, and it is actually associated with your first mortgage, so the value of your first mortgage. So you'd be entitled to 100% of the equity from your principal payments. And of course, principal payments is the principal payment from your first mortgage, along with 2% of the equity appreciation that's compounded annually. So the combination of both will essentially be the equity you would walk away with at the point of sale. I'll move on to the application and recruitment process. So for the application and recruitment process, the next step from this point on would be that we understand that you've done a bit of a pre-qualification or pre-screening questionnaire that will get reviewed. Once that gets reviewed, what we will move on to would be to essentially just reach out to both non-qualified and qualified individuals, just to let them know where they sit. And then from there, for the qualified individuals, we will essentially provide you the option to go ahead and complete an application. So that would be the first step. You'll complete a full application or online application and provide all supporting required documentation. Once you have provided that, the next step would be that that application again gets further reviewed by a team of volunteer and management. Once we have reviewed it, we will then move on or move your file over to a lender for lender qualification. And that lender would essentially be, of course, the credit union, and help us determine the mortgage eligibility and the qualification amount, the amount of mortgage you're entitled to. And then once that has been completed, we will then move on to, of course, the agreement of purchase and sell. Like, we would essentially provide you a unit that you would be interested in, see if you agree to it. And once that is completed and you have been selected for that unit, we move on to the agreement of purchase and sell. And that's when you'll be able to begin your community volunteer hours and also take part of the homeowners education workshop. Once that is conducted, and of course, once your unit is also ready, you'll move on to post-occupancy and essentially take possession of the home. And then from there on, we conduct a number of different, provide a number of different support. So one of them is ongoing customer support for warranty work. There'll also be an annual income and mortgage review conducted. And then, of course, there'll be the social impact study participation that happens 1 year prior, right before moving, and then 1 year after, and then 5 year, and then so on and so on. And then, of course, there'll be also a continued partnership and ambassadorship of the BNI program. And what does the timeline look like? So in terms of the application process, it can be anywhere between 2 weeks to 3 months. An application timeframe usually depends on the submission of all the documents that are required. So there is a number of documents such as proof of income and so on that would be required, that would have to be provided along with the application. And then we move on to preparation for homeownership. And that could be anywhere between 3 to 24 months. And that's usually contingent to the built and construction timeframe of the unit you'll be entitled to. And then from there, we move on to, of course, your post-occupancy, and that partnership or that relationship can be up to 25 years. So this kind of sums up our presentation. Of course, for any questions related to intake and application processing, please reach out to housing@dreamlegacy.org. For any other information, please contact us at programs@blacknorth.ca or visit our website at www.blacknorth.ca.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sigal. That was definitely a lot of information for us to consume. I know there are a lot of people that are sitting down with a lot of questions in their mind.
Is it just me who's not able to hear you?
Oh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Lucia.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I was just saying there's a lot of information that we have to absorb. Thank you so much for that, Sigal. I do see a couple of questions that are appearing in the Q&A. So just want to remind everybody that we are asking questions like Dahabo mentioned in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Just want to ask that we exercise some patience, humility, and grace that comes with developing new initiatives. So the team is here to answer as many questions as we can. I will attempt to bring forward some of these questions that are yet to be answered in the Q&A. And feel free to also click on the answered function. That way you'll see any past questions that were already asked, as the answer to your question may already be sitting in there. So we have a question here from Doreen, and Doreen is asking if we have, this is actually a two-part question, do we have enough houses for all those who are applying? If not, how do you choose the people who will get in first? So who would like to answer this question regarding if we have enough houses for all those who are applying?
So I can maybe take a stab at that one. Essentially, right now, the idea is for us to be able to provide 200 homes for the next 5 years. We understand that rolling out 200 homes would not be right away. At present, for this particular, for the first segment, we're talking about 220 homes, and then eventually we will be moving on and then continuing to build more portfolio in terms of being having access to additional units. But the goal is strategically to be able to provide 200 Black families, 200 homes. That is the idea of the program and the initiative, and something that we are striving to reach for the next 5 years.
Awesome, thank you, Sigal. And the second part of this question.
Yeah, I believe the second part was essentially whether or not how are we going to decide on that.
Yes.
We are definitely trying to determine how that would look like. There is a number of conversations that we've had, but we have to come to a determination whether or not, if there is, for example, 200 families that are all eligible or meet the criteria or qualify, how do we choose who will be able to fit into a particular home? Well, that would be something that we will determine whether or not that would look like a lottery. So a lot of the information we don't really have right away, because we're also waiting to see what that would look like come when we are reaching that that point or that step. But certainly something we're trying to determine in order to be able to be fair and just for everyone. So the concept of a lottery or a draw was certainly something that was circulated, and most likely something that we will be considering.
Awesome, thank you, Sigal. And the last part of that question is, how long is the waiting period? And I do believe Sigal did answer that within the presentation, and she mentioned that it can take anywhere between 2 weeks and 24 months. The first 2 weeks to the 3 months is the application process, depending on how quickly you submit your application, get all of your required documentations for it to be reviewed by the lender. And also, too, we have to have the right property to meet your family needs. Like, very important in the application that people need to consider is that depending on the amount of people that are in your home, as well as the age group of the people in your homes, it will determine heavily on the type of properties that you'll be able to get into, specifically the bedroom count. So then the preparation for the home ownership is also between 3 months and the 24-month period. So basically, both pieces have to be a match, and hopefully we'll be able to meet your needs within due time. Thank you for that question. The next question here, sorry, my screen's jumping around on me. If income is higher due to other payments, tuition, does that mean you cannot qualify? That's actually a very good question. I've never seen this particular question about the tuition piece. The qualifying income is employment income, and we do also consider supplementary income, specifically child tax benefit, as well as child support, actually, if it's being received on a regular basis. Tuition income, I don't believe is included in this, as it's not a long-term source of income to be relied on, and tuition is supposed to be spent on your schooling. So tuition income will be out of scope for the purpose of your qualification. Thank you very much for that question. I'm going to move on to, what is this one? What do I need to do to be in the first 20 people, please? I think that question was answered by Sigal indirectly.
That's right. There is nothing special to be done. In order to be fair and just to everyone, we're just expecting everyone to be able to complete their pre-screening. Once we reach out and we determine you qualify, then we will get back to you to allow you to be able to complete the application documentation, submit all the required documentation. And along with that too, there is a bit of a online video sessions that you'll be able to take a look at that provides more detailed information on the program in order for you to determine whether or not this is a good fit for your family. If this program is something you're interested in. And then once that is conducted, then we will move on to, of course, when we were saying in terms of being able to provide or house the units, that's when we will determine how we will distribute and allocate these. And like I said, it's most likely going to be a bit of a lottery concept because we want to be able to be fair to everyone who qualifies.
Thank you very much, Sigal. And this is a question I'll pass along to Chris from Habitat. There is a question asking what size of homes will be available.
Yeah, thanks, Lucia. So the size of homes will range, but primarily will be 2 and 3 bedroom homes. There will be opportunities for 4 bedroom homes, but primarily we're focused on the bedroom count, and it'll be a range of build forms. So there will be some apartments in high rises as well as some stacked townhomes as well. So there's a kind of a mix of units, and they'll range primarily between 2 and 4 bedrooms.
Thank you very much, Chris. We have another question here asking about when will the applicant begin to pay the second mortgage? Would that be after the first mortgage is paid off? I think this is another question I'll pass along. Chris, is this a question you want to take on?
Sure, or Siga, I can start. Siga, I can jump in. Yeah, correct. So the second mortgage would not, payments against the second mortgage wouldn't be due until the end of the first mortgage. And at that point, we'll reassess where, you know, each homeowner is at in their journey and determine kind of the next steps from there. But no payments against the second mortgage until the first mortgage is fully paid off.
Thank you. We have here a question. Where are these units located? Sigal, may I pass this on to you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take that one on. So, of course, we are partnered with Habitat for Humanity GTA, and as their name carries it, they are located in the GTA area, specifically Durham region, York region, Toronto, City of Toronto, and Peel region. And for Peel region, it does include Brampton and Caledona. But it doesn't, Caledon. I am not from Toronto, everyone, so my apologies. And then, of course, Mississauga, however, is a part of Habitat for Humanity, or Halton, Mississauga. But there might be potentially a few units that could be available in Mississauga as well. Was my last understanding from the last conversation we had. So there could be a few units in Mississauga, but it is primarily the Peel region, Durham, York region, and the City of Toronto.
Thank you very much, Sigal. We have a question here from Crystal. What if an applicant's situation changes from the time of the initial screening application and when an applicant is called to confirm if they are accepted or not? For example, an applicant listed a specific debt amount in the initial application, but has since become debt-free. Will that be taken into consideration? Okay, so I'll just speak to this, Crystal. the applicant situation, we expect to change as life does generally. In terms of the initial screening, we're going to take into consideration the information you provided on the initial screening, and it really is it will be taken into account on a case-by-case basis, depending on what exactly those changes are. For the specific change you mentioned, if there's a decrease in the debt amount, that's actually going to put you in a better off situation, because the way we're screening applications right now, we're looking for debt below 25% of your household income. So if your debt is decreased, then that puts you in a better off situation. If your debt has increased significantly above that 25%, and mind you, there's good debt and there's bad debt. So unsecured debt is bad debt, such as credit cards. If it's secured debt, such as lines of credit, not lines of credits, secure debt such as OSAP, or car loans, then we'll have a little bit more grace for those types of debts. But generally speaking, we do expect your situation to change, and the lender will put you through the lender review. And as long as you still qualify, then we will proceed with your application.
Maybe, Lucy, I'll just add, I think the important point here is that if your situation does change during the application process, it's important to just let the team know, so that we can work with you on whatever that change may be. If you change jobs, for example, any kind of change that may occur during the application process, just make sure that you send an email so that we're aware and we can make that note on your file.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. Should someone wait to apply if there was a break in employment income? For example, 10-year employment, 2-year self-employment, 3-month employed. I'd say go ahead and apply. We are looking for employment that is consistent, preferably at least 2 years of solid employment, much like a general lender review for a non-BNI program. The longer the employment, the better the application will look in compared to other applications as we're considering. But I will say put forward your application, and it will go through the regular screening, and we'd follow up with you.
Yeah, Lucy, maybe I'll just add also, yeah, I think each situation is unique, and really what we're looking for, and particularly when it comes to that first mortgage lender, what they're looking for is kind of consistent income. So, if there's the period when you were self-employed, let's say if that, demonstrates that there was regular income during that period as well, then there's a high, it supports your application. But I think it's hard to answer personal questions here. So like Lucia said, it's better to put that into the application, and we can work with you on that specifically.
Thank you very much, Chris. Here is Melissa. With the salary range to qualify being between 65 and 90K, what is the maximum home purchase market price that will be allowed? Chris?
Yeah, so I think with the salary range, obviously there's opportunities for, we recognize that, $90,000 in Toronto may not carry a lot of weight with the housing market as it is. So we are exploring the income range. But as Lucia said, we sell the units at market value, which in Toronto these days it could be $800,000. It'll really depend on the unit. But how we make the program work is that we set the first mortgage, which is what you'll pay towards, at the affordable rate, and then we fill in with funding to cover the difference. So while the market price of the home may be significantly higher, the mortgage required from you as the home buyer will be much lower than that, as we said, in kind of the 200 to 250 range, depending on the project. So there's a real range to market, and it'll change as we've seen the real estate market has altered drastically in the last year. But that is they're sort of distinct in that way.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. So we have a question here. When will applications be sent out? So that is a question here for the Dream Legacy Group. So we received a wealth of applications. There's a lot of applications to go through, and we are working diligently to screen all these applications, determine who's qualified, determine who's not qualified. And there are a lot of applications where we still need to follow up with people just to gather some more information. Some of the information we have to just follow up to make sure that the debt information was put in accurately. So we don't want to just move forward and non-qualify people if we're looking for that additional explanation. So we do anticipate that the first batch of applications first batch of applications will be sent out within the coming week or two. And then we'll be sending applications on a week-by-week basis as new applications are coming through. So thank you for that question. We have a question here. If you have a health problem and are off from work for recovery, but going back to work eventually, would that be a problem with qualifying?
I can answer if you would like.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Again, similar to the previous question, it's hard to answer a specific case without further detail. So I would recommend reaching out to the program with your specific question. We could work with you directly. In general, if the only source of income is, for example, Ontario disability, that won't qualify for the mortgage. But if there is other sources of employment income in the household, then it may work. So again, it's tricky to say without knowing the whole background and detail. So in this case, I would recommend, contacting the program directly, and hopefully one of our team can work with you, answer your specific questions.
Thank you very much, Chris. We have here, if my salary changes during the application time, how will that affect my application? I will.
It doesn't. If it decreases or increases, I think Chris might have already answered that one. Just please inform us if you have already submitted an application, and then we will be able to put that on your file. But I think at this point we're talking more or less about around the pre-screening, which is slightly different than the application. So right now we're still only at the pre-screening stages for a lot of the individuals who have already submitted their pre-screening qualifications. So once we have determined that, we will move on to the next portion, which is then to send out the applications to the qualified individuals.
And Sigal, maybe, because I think this has come up a fair bit, given the number of units we have and the number of applicants, there's going to be a number of households that don't, won't be approved for a home in this round for whatever reason. But as Sigal said, the program is to run for 5 years. So, if you don't qualify today, but then, in 6 months your income goes up or something changes in your income situation or whatever, it's always recommended to reapply as those changes happen and more units come up that may fit your needs, that you can reapply in the future if your scenario changes, if you don't qualify today.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm seeing a lot of repeat questions here, so I'm trying to find the questions that we haven't already answered. It says here, can you please post how we can contact the program again? I'll ask if someone can just throw the DLF inbox, which is housing@dreamlegacy.org, and these are for application related questions. Thank you. A down payment is not required, but if I can afford a down payment, will that be allowed to reduce how much I borrow for the second mortgage? Who would like to take on this question?
I can take it on. So yes, the program does not require a down payment, but you were essentially indicating that if you were to make a down payment, would that reduce the amount that that you'd have to pay back, it essentially will just put you in a better situation where you have more equity into your home. So because you would have put a down payment, that just means essentially this goes towards equity that you would have paid already. And at the time of purchase of sale, well, that's equity you're walking away with because you have already put down the amount. I'm not sure if that quite answers the question or if I went around it, but please chime in.
I think that answers the question. And if not, when we have our live section, the person can come on live and ask the question again. I have a question here from Kamisha. What determines the size house an applicant would be qualified for? And then the second part of the question is, do the applicants have the choice to choose the location for the residence? So in terms of the size, does anybody want to answer this? Oh, you know what? Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so in terms of size, we usually try and there's a number of things. So when we see the application, we can answer it, but we usually work on a bedroom count for the number of persons in your household so that we don't create a situation of overcrowding. So obviously we'll base it on each family's makeup when we look at their application to see how it fits into a home. And in terms of the second part, which I think was to do with location, as part of the application, we'll send out the kind of a list of the projects that are available currently in their locations. And then during your application, you'll be able to identify which projects you are interested in being considered for.
Thank you very much. We have a question here. What if I apply now with my 11-year-old son and you put me on the waiting list for 5 years? Do I still qualify? So I will answer this question and say that you will still qualify based off of the time that you submitted your application. Is that, if that's not?
I would say, so we will not create a waiting list because we don't think it's fair for you to wait for a project that may meet your needs. We evaluate each application at the time it's received and look at the available projects. So if you're approved today, you would be approved for a home that would be delivered in the next couple of years. If you're not approved, we don't create a waiting list. And if you aren't approved today, you'd be asked to reapply at a later date when there may be more units available or your situation has changed. So as long as you meet the qualifications in the future, we would look at that application again in the future.
Thank you very much. We have a question here. What is the next step after this webinar? If you haven't already done so, the next step would be to submitting your pre-screening questionnaire. If you've already done so, then you'd be waiting for an email from the Dream Legacy team to let you know whether you qualify to the next step, which is to receive the longer length application. And that's where we'll be making the request for all of your documents that will be reviewed by the lender and the volunteer review team, like Sigal mentioned in her presentation. I have another question here. If my child is 17, does this automatically disqualify me? And I'll pick up that question. That the current eligibility criteria requires that you have a child under the age of 16. So unfortunately, that is one of the initial disqualifiers as we are reviewing eligibility. So yes, one child under the age of 16 is part of the minimum requirements of this program. We have here, is there a preference in wanting a condo or a townhouse? Chris, did you want to take this one on?
Maybe I'm not quite clear on the question. Like, is it, maybe the person could clarify if they mean they have a preference for a condo or a townhouse? I'm just not sure, sorry, what the question is referring to. So maybe they could clarify.
Okay. So we can leave I have here Cassidy Nelson. Did you want to come on the line to clarify? I have an assumption for what you mean. The assumption that I'm expecting, Chris, is that a lot of people, they think condos as the high-rise structure and townhomes as, you know, the home type structure. But the word condo is throwing people off because we associate condos with common element fees.
Hello.
So, hi, Cassie.
Hi, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I do mean like in terms of for me, I would prefer have a standalone structure like a townhouse than living in a condo. So like an apartment-based condo. So this is what my question is really. Do I have a preference in that, or is it because is it based on the number of family per persons per family?
Okay, thank you, Cassidy. Yeah, so of course, as I said, when the applications go out, you'll have a choice of the projects that are available, and currently there is a mix of you know, apartments and high rises and what we call stacked townhomes. So they are kind of smaller townhome projects that, you know, it may be the third and the fourth floor of a building as your townhome. So you'd have an option of what your kind of desired project is, and then your application would be considered for that specific project. So yes, you would have a choice in whether you are considered for a kind of high-rise apartment or a, you know, a more ground-related townhouse, stacked townhouse product.
Thank you very much. So I have a question here. Resending my question as it was missed. With the salary range to qualify being between 65 and 90K, what is the maximum home purchase market price that will be allowed? Chris, did you not answer this question?
Yeah, I think so, but I can clarify. So the income would be considered towards the first mortgage. So each project, we have basically you know, we look at each project and we know how much we kind of require from the first mortgage amount. And so that may be between, you know, 200 to 250,000. And that's what we are evaluating against the income. The value of the property is sold at fair market because of CRA, so the Canadian Tax Regulatory Authority requires us to sell them at market value. And basically what we do is we determine what's affordable for your income, and that sets the first mortgage rate combined with what each project requires. So that's how we came up with the $65,000 to $90,000 income range. And as I said, you know, we recognize that in the GTA now, with market prices being so high, we are, you know, looking at the income range and whether we consider applicants who have a slightly higher income than 90,000. But that's the initial range, and it relates to the first mortgage value and ensuring that that's affordable for each household.
Thank you very much. We have a question here from Tasha. What if my son has a disability and is getting special services at home? Do I need to report that? It's a very good question. Chris, would you like to answer that question? I'm assuming this is an accommodation question.
Yeah, definitely, Tasha, thank you for the question. We do have some homes that are accessibility permitting. And so when you're completing your application, definitely please note that. And we will look at the units we have available and try and work with you to meet your needs that work for your household. So yes, please note that in your application, and then we will do our best to try and match the requirements for your family.
Thank you very much. I have a question here. Some really good questions, I must say. I have another one here. When will you start processing the application? So we've already answered that we will be processing within the coming weeks. Expect to get a letter from the Dream Legacy team. And we have the follow-up to that is, what about credit score applications? What about the credit score? but if it's lower, is that a factor that could eliminate? Absolutely. The low credit scores will eliminate you at the lender review phase. The general amount that we do put out there is that above 650 is where you want to be at for both the applicant and if you have a co-applicant, just like the regular market process. And what are the locations where the homes are located? And I do believe we answered that question as well.
Lucy, maybe I can expand just on the short term. The units we have directly upcoming available kind of within the next year will be in Oshawa, Brampton, and Toronto are kind of the 3 cities where we'll have units in the next kind of year to 18 months.
Thank you for that, Chris. For full-time employed applicant, when will we be required to participate in the other programs, such as community involvement, financial education, etc.? Weekends? I'm assuming this is a question about volunteer?
Yeah, I think it's both the volunteer hours and the homeowner education workshops. So both of those we try and work with each individual schedules. Volunteer hours can be done when you're not at work. There's a number of opportunities that allow for that. And as well, the homeowner education workshops are completed through a combination of in-person and virtual online at your own pace. And so we work to make sure that there's offerings that will allow for you to work, complete them around your employment schedule.
Thank you. So a question from Stephanie here. Do you plan on changing the eligibility criteria during the course of this program? I'm not sure. Right now, this is the eligibility criteria that works for us, and we are getting a wealth of applicants. But if we do find that this needs to change, that will be communicated. But Sigal, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this one. You just popped on. So asking. Sorry?
Certainly give it a bit of a stab.
Okay.
At this point, this is the eligibility requirement. There has been discussion, of course. We understand that for the average Black household, the income might be a little bit too high, and we understand that the average household actually earns around 49,000. So there has been conversations around whether or not we are looking at decreasing the amount of income, or essentially even looking at a bit of a higher bracket. And so far, we are sitting within these income brackets. And this is also to, of course, preserve the sustainability of the program. Anything below that 60 mark would probably put you in a position where you're not really building a lot of equity, and therefore it might not be worth it. And of course, I think Chris might have touched on, if your income is slightly higher than what is indicated on here, which was 90,000, we still sort of encourage you to be able to still apply, because then there is, as he mentioned, a number of units that could potentially be able to accommodate someone within a higher bracket. And that's something that if we move the needle, we're sort of going to probably move it along those lines, as opposed to probably lowering the income. But for right now, these are the eligibility requirements that are going to remain, because this is what's going to sustain the program as well. My apologies for the walking.
Thank you very much, Sigal. So we have a question from Kanai. If your family size is greater than 4 individuals, does this disqualify you? And then it says, I find that it's difficult to get picked for these programs because of family size. So to take a stab at this question, it really depends on the age of the individuals. We do have certain criteria that we follow. For instance, a couple, for instance, would be automatically in 1 bedroom. I believe it's children under, 16 of different genders would be allotted another bedroom each, and children over the age of 16 will be in 1 bedroom each, and under the age of 16, same sex, but would be able to be in the same bedroom. And I believe we only have 3 bedroom homes available. Chris, if you can piggyback on what I'm saying, but it depends on the age groups.
Yeah, there's a number of considerations that we go through when looking at family size and making sure that the unit meets your needs. So I would definitely recommend applying, and then we'll work with you based on what units we have available. And as I said earlier, our goal is to try and have units between 2 and 4 bedrooms, and so we're working on that, actively with family size. So again, it's hard to answer without knowing the whole background. So I would recommend, submitting your question to the team, or, completing the application, and we'll work with you on trying to meet your needs.
Awesome. So just being cognizant of time here, I apologize for those questions that we weren't able to get to yet on the Q&A. We will give you the opportunity to ask some of these questions live now. If you could just please put your hands up to ask your question. We'd love to hear your voices, and we can tackle some of these questions live if you don't mind. Screen here. Are any hands up yet? I don't see any hands. Perfect. Miriam. Hi, Miriam. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi. I want to ask you, after this, then am I going to wait for you to send me something to either fill out the application or no, or I have to fill another pre-screening?
So Miriam, have you already you've already completed your pre-screening?
Yes.
Awesome. So the next step is for us to review your pre-screen. We're going to determine whether you qualify to the next stage. If you don't qualify, we'll let you know. If you do qualify, we will be following up with a formal application where we will be asking you to submit more information. So Miriam, we do expect to have the communication with you and others within the coming week or so.
Oh, okay. So the pre-screening is the one at the beginning, how many children I have, the income I put, something like that. That one is the one I fill it out.
Exactly.
And then you send me the link to listen.
Exactly.
Then now I will wait for you guys, whatever, yes or no, I will wait for you.
Absolutely. That's correct.
Oh, I don't need to fill out another things.
Not yet. You wait for our next direction.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miriam. Do we have any other questions? If you're one of the individuals that sent a question on the Q&A and it hasn't been answered, this is your time to ask live. Thank you, Nandi.
Hi, my question is, as your family grows, if you're into a 2 or 3 bedroom, will you be able to sell the house and purchase a different one? And if so, what's a time frame that you'll be able to sell?
Chris, may I pass this question along to you, please?
Yeah, so of course, you're able to sell your home at any time. If your life changes for whatever reason, maybe you get a job in a different city, or etc., you're able to determine when you want to move on from your home. In terms of the ability to kind of switch to a different home within the program, that's a challenge because of a number of different funding requires, to be a first-time homeowner. And this is something we're continuing to evaluate, how to support families that change in size while they're, in the BNI partnership. But of course, at any time you're able to, move on from your home in partnership with BNI. But we're still working through the possibility of moving homes within the program, which is difficult just given that, there's a number of people who, are also applying for the opportunity and just the funding of programs that are associated with the unit. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Sure, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. Just going to give our final question to Melissa. Hi, Melissa. What's your question?
I actually have two questions, if you would allow me. My first question has to do with the age of the applicant. Does it matter the age of the applicant? For example, let's say a 50-year-old person, individual, and takes 25 years to pay the mortgage. So by the time they're 75, they would be maybe in retirement. Would that impact like them having to pay the second mortgage at that time?
I can answer. Yeah, so we don't have a age requirement or limit. We work with each family on their current circumstances, and so as you work through the program, and if you move towards retirement, we'll work with you on trying to ensure you can remain in the home. You will have to maintain some level of mortgage payment if you're still paying off the first mortgage. It's a set payment. But when you get to the end of the mortgage, we'll work with you on the circumstances to ensure we can best support you. But it's really on a individual basis. But at the point of application, there's no age requirement or limit.
Okay. Thank you. My second question is the second mortgage you mentioned earlier. It's interest free, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. So like if I were to say take a second mortgage of, for example, 400,000, I will be paying back just the 400,000.
So the way the program works is that we share the appreciation in the home. So while there's no interest on the second mortgage, okay, there is the share of the appreciation that would have to be paid back. So it would be 400,000 plus, the program share of the appreciation.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I see another hand snuck in here. I'm sorry. Final question, Miriam. Or is that an existing hand from previous?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Miriam.
Hi, sorry. I have a special need child. She's 10. I get something I think it's called a special service at home, something like that. I get a little money from there each month, but I didn't include it my whatever I submitted now. What do I do?
So Miriam, I would encourage you to resubmit your application and include that as an additional source of income. And when it's being reviewed, we'll just merge your two applications and incorporate that that information. And we'll determine whether or not it will qualify as a supplemental income.
Okay, thank you so much.
And that's if you're not already qualifying. If you feel like that income will help you to qualify, then resubmit. If you're already within the qualification range, then it wouldn't make much of a difference, and it can always be included in your next application. Awesome. Thank you so much. We did comb through quite a bit there, and I think the team was also answering some more questions in the Q&A. So I just want to thank everybody so much for their time. As I close off for this evening, I just want to again apologize to any of those who we weren't able to respond to today. Just want to encourage you to please send us an email. We'd love to answer any questions that you may have to either the Dream Legacy or the BlackNorth email address, which is included in the chat. And also want to make a mention that all of these engagement session recordings will be available on the blacknorth.ca website. So you'll have the opportunity to re-listen to this session as well as any of the past sessions, just to have additional answers to any of your outstanding questions, rather. So we're hoping that this home ownership solution works for you and your family. Just know that if you don't qualify in this moment, you can still reach out to us to find out some things that you may do to qualify in future. This program is designed to help as many Black people as possible, and we do hope to do just that. I just want to thank you so much for joining us. I know it's super late. A lot of us are tired, and we just want to allow everyone to get back to their families. But before I let you go, I just want to say a final thank you so much to all of the partners at the BlackNorth Initiative, the Dream Legacy Foundation, as well as Habitat for Humanity GTA, as well as all of our funders and developers and communities who have allowed us to get to where we are today. We want to thank everybody for being a part of this solution with us. I hope you all enjoy your evenings.